It's longer. Tonga, don't bite my tyre, please. Oh my boy, he's a good boy. Don't do a Shane, bite my tyre.
哎呦我操！
Tell you to run.
Oh, look at you. Look at you. She's still waking as well.
I'm going to try and get in closer.
Hello. Yeah, that's good.
哦，雨天的天气越来下颗粒。 已经约好在操场等你，夏天真的是闷得可以，带你吃吃草莓冰淇淋。
哎呦我的妈！
ये तेंदुआ पूर्वी रूस के दूर बर्फीले जंगलों में पाए जाते हैं। पहले ये कोरिया और चीन में भी पाए जाते थे, लेकिन पर्यावरण में हो रहे बदलाव और इंसानों द्वारा अनियंत्रित शिकार के वजह से 2007 में इनकी कुल संख्या सिर्फ 20 के आसपास थी। मानव विकास गतिविधियां और मौसम में बदलाव के कारण इन्हें काफी नुकसान पहुंचा। वन्य जीव संरक्षकों ने चेतावनी दी है कि अगर जल्द ही उपाय न किए गए तो ये तेंदुए पूर्ण रूप से गायब हो जाएंगे।
Hey, Steve.
Hey, Sherman, how's it going?
Good.
Good morning, everyone. I want to thank you for joining us this morning. We thought we might take this opportunity to show you some animals that aren't on display right now due to our social distancing guidelines. And also wanted to let you know that there's a link that you can follow afterwards to get some more educational opportunities. And any support that you're willing to give us, we're more than happy to also take on that link. So, my name's Steve. I'm one of the animal keepers here at the zoo, and I work primarily with reptiles and amphibians. And we just thought we'd start in when introduce some of our lizards and talk about some of the adaptations that these guys have. So this is Pop. Pop is a panther chameleon. They're native to Madagascar, and you know, a lot of you may be familiar with chameleons. Ringo from the Disney movie. You can see that he's very well adapted to climbing up on branches. You can see his feet. They're specially designed to grab onto stuff, and fingers. And what's really cool is this tail. So a lot of folks, you know, kind of think of lizards as, oh, their tails come off and they grow back. Well, that's only true in some. These guys, for instance, they're very dependent on their tail. Chameleons don't, if their tail was to come off or be bit off by a predator, it won't grow back. And they really depend on this tail. This tail, not only does it help them climb, you can see he's grabbing on my thumb, but one of the other more important aspects of this tail is that they have to use it as an anchor. So if you're familiar with the chameleon, you know that they shoot their tongue out really hard to go after prey. And that tongue will come out so fast that if they don't have a good anchor, it'll pull them right off a branch. So very pretty cool adaptation for that. He wants to. And the other thing about chameleons is they want to go wherever's high. So you can see that he's wanting to climb. I'm going to go ahead and move him down here.
So Steve, for the folks that missed it, can you tell us again what kind of chameleon is this?
He's a panther chameleon from Madagascar.
And so how many species of chameleons are there? Some people, you know, they've seen maybe an anole and have heard about that as a chameleon. What's the difference? Right.
So an anole's not actually a true chameleon. Anoles can change colors, but their color range is limited to brown to green. You can see that he's way more adaptable to colors. Pop here will go everywhere from a burgundy to a bright red with blue bars. You can see he's got some real light blue on his side right now. He's got his head will turn almost completely blue if he wants it to. He's a lot of, and his mouth is yellow. He likes to show all that off to you. He's getting a little grouchy.
So Terry's asking, will he bite?
So Terry, that's a good question, right? And will he bite? Yeah, usually not. Can he bite? Yes, definitely. And they've got pretty strong jaws, so I'm careful. But you know, this particular species, not not real prone to bite unless they're really being agitated and really need to get away.
So, I'm sorry for the folks. We're having a little bit of audio trouble with the mic coming in and out, but I think it'll get better here. So, tell us, how big can Pop get here? Is he full size now? Or?
Pop is pretty much full grown. Chameleons and most lizards and most other reptiles continue to grow throughout their whole life. So, and he's what we call an adult. These guys, they have a lifespan of somewhere about between 5 and 7 years, so they're not a particularly long-lived animal. They mature really quickly. So they become an adult in about 12 to 18 months, and then they're ready to be adult lizards.
Aaron's asking, how many bugs will he eat in a day?
Aaron, he would probably eat as many bugs as I would give him, and he would just become more and more overweight. So we really kind of give him a limited amount. His diet is typically 6 to 8 crickets every couple of days. So if you think about about a 3/4 inch long cricket, but he will certainly eat more than that if we were to allow him to.
So are all chameleons carnivorous?
Yes, yes. So all chameleons are carnivorous primarily. There are a couple of species which will occasionally eat leaves. Some from the desert that will use those leaves as a source of moisture if they aren't getting enough dew in the morning, but they're primarily carnivorous.
We have a question here from Sabrina. She's wondering if a chameleon like this would make a good pet.
Sabrina, chameleons in general don't make good pets. As much as Pop tolerates being handled, he doesn't really like it. You'll see that he just wants to kind of sit and be left alone. We usually, lizards in general don't make great pets. You do want to be really careful about where they're coming from if you do decide to get one. And you really need to take in consideration that there's a lot of setup and a lot of detail to keeping a lizard as a pet. I kind of equate it to folks who have aquariums or even like saltwater aquariums. It's really, there's so much setup, and the animals themselves really aren't for handling. It's more to if you enjoy looking at them, that's kind of the other thing.
Janet's asking, why do their eyes bulge out?
Janet, so those eyes aren't really bulged out per se. They're just, they're set like that on the outside of their skull so that they can see. If you look, in fact, he's doing a good job right now. If you're able to see both of his eyes at one time, you can see that he can aim each eye in different directions simultaneously. And the iris of his eye is out there at the end of that, what we call turret, so that he can really focus. And then when he finds something that he wants to hunt, he'll aim both his eyes in the same direction. It gives him a really, really great sense of depth. And so it makes it so firing that tongue is very, very accurate.
Piper's asking, how can he do that with his eyes? How can they move 2 different directions at the same time?
Piper, I don't know. I wish I could do it. I think that'd be a great trick to be able to do. Just one of the adaptations that these guys have to be able to be successful hunters.
Summer wants to know, how old is Pop?
Summer Pop is, he's about 18 months old now.
And Terry's asking, does he always have to eat live foods?
Yeah, Terry, that's a good question. Technically, no. You could, if we wanted to feed him a deceased prey animal, we could. But usually it's the motion of the animal, of his prey, that really kind of stimulates him to want to eat. So we always give him live food.
Michelle's asking, what are the largest chameleons?
Michelle, the largest species of chameleons, there's what's called a Wistoletti's chameleon, which is also native to Madagascar, which can make a body length of about 24 inches. So you can imagine his is not even 12 inches. They're much larger. And then there's an African mainland species that's called the Meller's chameleon, which are also very big, but not as big as the Wistoletti's.
So we have a couple other lizards to look at here. Who do
we
have?
do, yeah. So let's see. So we talked about tails in this guy, right? You'll see a nice prehensile tail. All right, well, let's shift gears.
While you're doing that, Tresia is asking, what is Pop's lifespan?
Pop's lifespan is about 5 to 7 years. So this is Hank. Hank is our African fat-tailed gecko. You want to guess how we got his name? So fat-tailed geckos are not your typical gecko that most people think of, running around on the walls, stuck upside down on glass. Fat-tailed geckos don't have the little sticky adhesive lamellae, we call them, on their feet. They have claws. So he can't climb up anything, other than, anything a typical lizard. He can't climb vertical surfaces. But his tail adaptation is this nice, fat, juicy tail. And that tail, that's where he stores surplus food. So when he's got lots of food to eat, he'll, store that just like we would as fat. But when he comes to times when he can't, when a lot of food's not available, he'll be able to use that tail to kind of absorb nutrients from there. And that tail will shrink way down, and it can swell back up when he's in good times. So he's lots of opportunity to stay healthy.
Sarah says he looks like a leopard gecko. Are they closely related?
Sarah, they're both out of the same family of geckos. That's really smart. These guys are African. They're more, they live where it's more humid, and leopard geckos are more Asian, North Asian. But yes, they're both what we call eyelid geckos. So both those species of geckos have actual eyelids, whereas most geckos don't have any eyelids.
Debbie's asking, what are their mating habits?
Secretive, Debbie. They, they're nocturnal, so we don't see that very often. They have a courtship behavior where the male, he does a lot of he'll do a lot of tail wiggling. The female will do tail wiggling. She'll raise her tail to allow him to mate, and then she'll lay a couple of eggs. He'll go away, she'll lay a couple of eggs, and in about 60 days, those eggs will hatch, and you got 2 little baby fat-tailed geckos.
And Benjamin had a question about Pop, actually. He said, can he actually move fast if he wants to?
Fast is kind of a subjective term, right? He certainly can't move fast enough where I couldn't catch him. But he can move surprisingly fast. If he gets up and goes, he can move.
So tell us a little bit about what's the difference between this gecko and some that you might see climbing on the walls in Hawaii or Florida.
So the typical gecko that people think of, instead of I don't know if this will show that you can see, he's got just regular toes with little claws at the end of those toes, whereas a typical gecko will have a big adhesive, big flat toe pads that will allow it to stick onto things. So these guys just don't have that. They're considered a little bit more primitive species of geckos, so they haven't evolved those things. These guys live on the ground. Most geckos are arboreal. They live in the trees.
Kaylee's asking, what's the lifespan for this species?
Kaylee, these guys are probably very long-lived, between 15 and 20 years. We know leopard geckos, for instance, that can live to be about 25. So we anticipate that these guys are probably pretty similar as far as the lifespan.
And Maggie might have missed this. Where is the species native to?
Maggie, these guys are native to Africa.
All right. So we've seen 2 very different tails here.
Yeah.
So can you, just to rehash here, tell us what's the difference between what this gecko uses its tail for and what Pop uses his tail for?
Yeah, so Pop uses his tail for grabbing. Right? If you kind of look down here, you can see he's got himself secure on that branch. So whether it's shooting after his food and it acting as an anchor or just simply holding him in place, he's got that. The fat-tailed gecko uses that tail as storage for surplus food. Right? So if he's in a time where he's getting plenty to eat and he can eat all he wants, he can store that for times when there's not as much. Think of it as his mobile pantry.
And we have one more really interesting tail.
Yeah, this one's probably the most amazing. Well, it's a pretty amazing tail anyway. So this is a Taylor's shield-tailed lizard. And you can see they're very small. He's an adult. This is Lawrence, our Taylor shield-tailed lizard. You guys are football fans out there. And you can see his tail is actually this portion right here. And that tail is very spiky, right? So what he'll do, and you can see right now, is he's kind of gulping air, so he's inflating himself. You can see he's getting kind of rounded. These guys, when they're threatened by a predator, they'll dive into their hole, and they'll just leave this exposed to cover the hole. And so anything that's trying to get to them has got to figure out a way to get past those spines.
Amazing. So is he full size? Right?
Yeah, he's full grown. He's he's about 5 years old now. When they're born, they're only about the size of my thumbnail. So they're very small. They're very cute. One of my favorites. Where do
shield-tailed agamas come from?
Shield-tailed from northeastern Africa. So
we actually have another question because there's a little lag here.
Yeah,
Storm was asking, how do chameleons get along with each other?
You know, chameleons are primarily solitary, so they don't get along with each other very well, except when it's time for breeding season, and then only for a short period of time. The neat thing about their colors is their colors are how they talk to each other. So when he's looking for a female, he'll have a certain color, and if a receptive female sees him, she'll actually change to a particular color, and then they'll know that, okay, it's okay to approach each other. If they don't get those colors, then they know to stay away from each other. And males will use those colors to flash to each other and keep their distance from each other, unless they want to. You know, sometimes they will actually physically fight if they get close enough, but usually just flashing those colors is a good warning for them.
And Heather has a second grader who wanted to know, how long can a fat-tailed gecko get?
So Heather, that fat-tailed gecko, he's about as long as they get. This is pretty much full grown. Like I said, they'll continue to grow slowly as they get older, but not much longer than that.
And okay, so we're back with the agama now. Jen, who missed this, wants to know what's his name?
His name's Lawrence. Lawrence Taylor Shield-tailed agama. It's sometimes we really stretch to find names for these guys.
Scott is asking, how do you know if it's a girl or a boy?
Well, let's see if I can show you. It's pretty easy. If you look on the bottom, so if you look, can you guys see that yellow? There's like a yellow, they're very hard to see, and without my glasses I can barely see it, but that's a row of what we call femoral pores. Those are actually postanal femoral pores. And they secrete a waxy substance, and only males really secrete the waxy substance. Does that show up?
Yeah. And Kelly's asking, what does this species eat?
These guys are omnivores, so they love bugs to the point where it can be unhealthy for them. So they eat primarily vegetables with occasional bugs.
So Steve, as we've been looking at these lizards, people love lizards. We're getting a lot of questions about pet lizards. What sort of advice can you give in general if somebody is considering getting a lizard? What sort of research and what sort of big considerations they need to?
I guess if you're considering a pet lizard and you're kind of set on it, there's available a lot of husbandry materials out there. Be careful where you get those sources. Your local exotic vets will usually have real good sources for husbandry type of things. The animals themselves, you really want to make sure that they're captive bred. And that doesn't mean, there's some misnomers. There's what we call farm bred animals, which are basically just kind of collected in the wild and then brought to the United States. You want to avoid that kind of thing. Really, if you can at all possible, buy captive bred animals. Be really particular about which animals you're buying. It's all of us have gone into a pet shop before and seen a sad looking animal, be it a lizard or other reptile or other animal, and thought, oh, I'll take it home and make it better. That's it's really not the right thing to do. You make sure you're picking out a healthy animal. Get advice from your veterinarian.
So longevity is another big consideration.
Yeah, yes, and that's it, right? You really need to think about some of these animals, like, Pop, he has a natural lifespan of between 5 and 7 years. So, we need to expect that. Whereas, the fat-tailed gecko, 25 years. So, you kind of need to know, are you buying an adult animal that maybe isn't, you don't know how old it is already? Like I said, really invest a lot of time in research on what particular species you want first.
Great. Well, thanks so much, Steve. I guess one last question is, how can people help lizards survive?
The best way to help them survive is protect the environment, right? Lizards as a whole are doing pretty well. Most of them are pretty adaptable. There's a few species that are really in trouble, but the biggest thing you can do is recycle. Really think about where your wood products are coming from. We all hear about palm oil and we know about orangutans, but the other thing is there's a lot of reptiles and stuff that live in those forests too. So really think about your effect on the environments, and especially for lizards in particular, the tropical environments. We don't have lots of lizards that live outside of tropical environments, but the ones that do could, obviously use some thinking about.
Well, Steve, thanks so much for hanging out with us and the lizards today.
Yeah, for sure. You guys, hopefully everybody learned something. Click on that link, learn more. There's way more than just these 3 out there in the world. So.
Awesome. All right, we'll see you lizards later. Thanks for watching, everybody. All right. Hey, Kaylee.
Hello. Thank you for joining us in the Penguinarium. My name's Kaylee and this is Barb. Today we'd be happy to answer all questions about penguins for you, and afterwards you can go to the link in this video and there's a bunch of penguin activities. We truly appreciate all of your support and it means the world to us. Please consider donating if you have any needs.
So, what kind of penguins do we have here?
These are called Humboldt penguins. They are native to South America. They live on the coastlines of Chile and Peru.
And Lisa is asking, how many do we have here?
Lisa, great question. We have 23 penguins. We have 14 males and 9 females.
And so, do they all have names, Kaylee?
They do.
Can you tell us who are some of these?
They do have names. If you look at their wings, you'll see their name tags. All the males are tagged on their right and the females are on their left. And
can you tell us who some of them are here?
Yeah, let's see. We got Patata, we got Linus, we got Nacho right here from our Nacho and Goat walks. And Goat is right here. We have this year's chick. This is CT. This is our little girl right here. If you notice, she's got different colorations. This is the juvenile plumage. She won't get her adult plumage until she's around 2 years old.
Before we go on, I just want to tell all our watchers, please do not click any links on the comments that are asking you for credit card information. We are not charging for this live, and there are some scammers. So. All right, so to get on with it, Tanya wants to know, how can you tell if everyone gets a fish? How can you tell if everybody gets a fish?
That is a great question, Tanya. So every morning we come out with our little checkboard and we give all of our penguins their vitamins. So we make sure everyone gets at least 1 fish a day. Also, we are able to manage this group. It's not a massive group, it's 23 birds, so we hand feed each of our penguins and we pay attention to who we're feeding.
And what are we feeding them here?
This little thing right here is called a silver slide. It's one of their favorites. It's like their little snack. We have capelin and their other favorite, which is herring.
So what do Humboldt penguins eat in the wild?
That's a great question. Humboldt penguins eat anchovies, crustaceans, and squid.
So Ryan is asking, do you notice different families or social circles among the penguins?
So penguins do mate for life. They are monogamous, and they hang out with their chick for around the first 3 years of the chick's life until the chick fledges and they go off on their own.
So Claire is asking if they're going to swim, and I think we'll play a little bit of video of to show what they look like when they're swimming underwater here. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, penguins are beautifully adapted to living in the ocean. Their torpedo-shaped bodies were designed for moving efficiently through the water. They use their flippers to propel or fly underwater, if you will, and use their feet as rudders to steer. Humboldts can swim up to 35 miles an hour to either evade predators or catch their own prey. The predators include sharks, seals, and killer whales. These guys are able to hold their breath for around 3 minutes and dive up to 300 feet at a time. They have this really cool adaptation about them. They have a second eyelid. It's transparent and it's like a pair of goggles. It's called an extended membrane.
How fast can they swim?
They can swim 30 miles an hour.
So Beckett and Lucas are asking, how are they similar or different from their relatives in Antarctica?
Basically, it's just size and location. So there are 4 species of Antarctic penguin. They live in the colder weather, and these guys are a tropical species. Their closest relative is the African penguin. There's 17 species altogether.
So what's the biggest penguin species?
Emperor penguins are the largest. They are between 59 and 99 pounds depending on the season, where a Humboldt penguin is about 9 to 18 pounds depending on the season.
So Molly and Beckett and Lucas are asking, the herring looks so huge compared to the size of their bills. Do they chew them or do they swallow them whole?
They swallow it whole. So the really cool thing about these guys is they have these little barbs in their mouth that grab onto the fish. So when they're hunting in the wild, this fish can't swim out of their mouth.
Tiffany says her 6-year-old would like to know, how do penguins use their wings when swimming? Do they push with their wings or do they steer with their wings?
That's a great question. They push water. They move their wings in a circular motion, and they use their feet as rudders to steer.
So Jeff is asking, does Oregon have any penguins?
Jeff, the only penguins in Oregon are our Oregon Zoo penguins.
So when people see puffins or murres or different black and white seabirds on the Oregon coast, what's the big difference between them and penguins?
They are a part of a different family completely. However, they do eat fish just like penguins do, and they hunt in a similar manner. They are a flighted bird, the puffins, where these guys are flightless. So these guys dive to get their fish. Puffins dive from the surface.
So we had a one chick hatch this year. We're going to play a little bit of video to show. Can you tell us a little about that chick?
Yes. So CT was huge this year for us. She was the 191st chick to be hatched here at the Oregon Zoo since the 1980s. And we were able to use her egg to set the parameters on our new CT machine. So we can use it for our condor eggs. Condors are extremely endangered, so that is huge. She's a big contributor to science.
So what was it like caring for her? And she was really fluffy and...
Yeah, so when penguins hatch, they are born with a brown and gray fuzz. called down. They are pretty helpless. Their eyes are closed for the first week, and their parents take care of them. Keepers would do health checks on them daily. We'd take weights, assess hydration, and if we needed to intervene, we were able to supplement them and then return them to her parents.
So speaking of parents, Holly would like to know, do they mate for life, and how many chicks can they have at one time?
That's a great question, Callie. Penguins do mate for life. They are monogamous. If something happens to one of them, they will pair up with another bird. There you go.
And who are CT's parents?
Mojito and Bonita. So Mojito is actually the largest penguin we have. Where's he at? Oh, that's Mojito right there. And then Bonita right here up front.
Benjamin's asking, are the black stripes on their chest unique to each penguin?
Benjamin, that is a very smart question. They are unique. So the black stripe and the spots around it are unique to each individual penguin. It's like their thumbprint.
Adriana wants to know, how many times can they have eggs?
Adriana, great question. So these guys will lay 2 eggs per clutch. If something happens to their eggs, if they get predated, then they can double clutch and lay 2 more for the season.
So, how often do you feed the penguins here?
The penguins get fed at least 3 times a day, up to 5 times if there's chicks.
So I know some of our followers have seen them walking around. Is that something that they enjoy doing? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, our nacho and goat walks, they seem to really enjoy it. I think they're definitely missing public. They used to play with them at the glass. So it's nice to get them out of their habitat that they're in all the time, especially while the weather was nice.
So what's their favorite snack? Is there a certain seafood that they prefer?
This is most definitely their favorite snack. This is the silver sides.
And do all of them prefer that, or?
All of them except for CT, Pescado, and Patata, which are our 3 youngest birds. CT was hatched this year. Pescado and Patata are about 3 years old. They don't care for them much yet, but all the older birds dig them.
I think some of the folks are hearing the braying vocalizations. Katie is asking, is that the penguins making that noise, and what is that sound?
Penguins do make a bray, but what I think you're hearing is an Inca-tern, which is a flighted bird in this exhibit with a red bill and a mustache.
Beckett is asking, when they go on walks, do they have a favorite animal to visit?
Ooh, that's a good question. Becca, I think they really enjoyed the sea lion, or the seals.
And Natalie is asking a little bit about enrichment. She's saying, do they get toys, and what are the sort of...
Absolutely. So we do give them floating toys in the pool. We have a kelp forest, if you will, for them that we've made out of felt and a sinking bar. They also really enjoy fish tosses when it comes to their little snack here. When public's here, they really enjoy shining things up at the glass.
So Katie's asking, are there vitamins in their food?
Katie, great question. We put a vitamin in their food every morning. So they get 1 vitamin a day, every day.
So Kaylee, what's it like to work with penguins? It's a pretty special job. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do and kind of what it takes to do this work?
Yeah, it's great. We all really enjoy it. So working with birds is nice because there's so many things to them depending on the season. So we have nesting season, we have to put all the boxes in and help them raise their chicks. There's something called catastrophic molt where they drop all their feathers, and we have to be able to care for them while they're doing those things. As far as daily care, we feed and medicate every day. We have to power wash the exhibit. It's a lot of work. Okay.
What are some of your favorite parts of caring for penguins?
I really enjoy chick season. Helping the parents raise their chick is a lot of fun for me. Watching the chick grow and be healthy and successful. and learning about that individual chick's personality.
Susan is asking, what's the temperature in the penguinarium here?
That's a great question, Susan. The temperature in here is around 69 degrees.
And so for some people might think, you know, associate penguins with Antarctica, but can you talk a little bit about kind of why that's okay for this species of penguin?
These guys are a tropical species. They're from South America, so they're liking the warmer climate. These guys are especially adapted for warmer climate. If you notice, they have pink skin around their bills and their feet, and underneath their wings there's a little bit. So when they get too hot, they can send all their blood to those areas to cool off. So they are adapted for warm weather. There are 4 species of Antarctic birds, and they are the larger species, and they are built for colder weather.
Christina is asking, how do they sleep?
That's a great question, Christina. So these guys sleep multiple ways. Sometimes they take real short naps on their feet, so they sleep standing up. Sometimes they sleep on their bellies with their little legs sticking out, and they will also nap in the water.
So Maricela is asking, how old do they get? And what's the oldest penguin in the colony here?
Marcella, that's a good question. So in the wild, penguins live 20 to 25 years. At zoos and aquariums, they live upwards of 30 years. We had a record-breaking penguin named Brown. He lived to be 39 years old. Our oldest penguin is Mochica. He is 30 years old. He is actually not over here right now, but this is Crash, and she's 29 years old, so she's right behind him.
Susie's asking, do the parent penguins regurgitate their food to the chicks?
Yes, Susan, they do. We call it crop milk, and the younger the chick is, the soupier it is. So as the chick grows, the parents will go eat their fish, and they start regurgitating chunks, but we call it crop milk.
Charmaine has a funny question. So do the penguins get fat, and do you need to limit their calories because of that?
Not normally. So these guys go through something called a catastrophic molt once a year. So there is a season where these penguins will put on 3 to 5 pounds per bird, and then they drop all their feathers, and it takes about 3 weeks for the whole process. And the reason why they put on so much weight is because in the wild they wouldn't get in the water to hunt. Well, they don't have feathers. So they do get large, but it's acceptable, and we don't have to really manage their weight like that.
So Ellie is asking, how do they raise their chicks in the wild, and is there any difference between the way they do that and the way they do it here in the zoo?
Yes, so in the wild, they actually make their nests out of guano, which is dried up poop. Here at the zoo, we give them nest boxes. And also the parents would have to go out into the ocean and forage for food, where we offer them food. So these penguins definitely have an easy life. They don't have to go hunt for their own food. We give them plenty here.
So Kaylee, how can people help wild penguins survive? What are some actions people can take to make sure that they'll always have enough food? And
that's a great question. So if you are a big seafood lover, if you download a Seafood Watch app, it'll tell you what is sustainable to eat in your area, and it will help the environment that way. And it's less competition for some of the sea life. So that is a great resource to use if you want to save penguins and other sea life. Another thing you can do is totally simple, is pick up trash. You go to the ocean, go to the beach, you see trash laying around, pick it up. Even if you're in the Portland area, if you see trash on the ground, if you pick it up, it keeps it out of our waterways.
And we'll take one last question. It's from Joreen. She wants to know, what do they feel like? Are they soft?
Doreen, that's a great question. They're very smooth. They kind of feel like, what, a water balloon? Like a what? Dalmatian. Like a wet Dalmatian is what Barbara says. No, they're very smooth and soft.
Well, thanks so much, Kaylee, for hanging out with us on the penguins today.
Thank you for joining us. We hope to see you guys very soon at the zoo. Don't forget, check out the link on our website if you want to have some penguin activities. And everyone who is anywhere near a fire, if you're in evacuation or can see it, if you're affected by it anyway, our thoughts are with you. Be safe.
Thank you. Bye, penguins.
What you doing, Mother? Your own baby. Bless you.
Woo! You're out of bed. Oh my goodness.
Wow. This is National Geographic.
Oh my God, baby.
Whoa. This is my territory.
जल जंतु में जीपीएस प्रणाली पाई जाती है। वह धरती की चुंबकीय शक्ति को महसूस कर सकते हैं और ये उन्हें घर के लिए मार्गदर्शन कर सकते हैं। ये अपने घर से कितनी भी दूर क्यों ना हो, इनको अपने घर लौटने का रास्ता हमेशा मिल जाता है।
Oh my goodness, you're
Sniffing you everywhere.
your sniff is fun. You're so good boy. That's a good boy. Are you gonna take a picture or are you gonna still sniff it? He's like, I want to sniff your butt
That'd be
again.
great if we can get a picture of them two together.
He's done it before, obviously.
Yeah.
It's quick.
Amazing how quick they are, eh?
हम तुम्हें मारेंगे और जरूर मारेंगे। लेकिन वो बंदूक भी हमारी होगी।
ये नजारा है भैया थाम भैया थाम 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 कुछ नहीं होता, चिल्लाओ मत, चिल्लाओ मत सिर्फ। भैया नहीं समझ नहीं आगे 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 जाओ आगे जाओ आगे जाओ चिल्लाओ मत चिल्लाओ मत क्या अंकल भैया थाम भैया रुको रुको एक नंबर लगा एक नंबर काट दो नहीं दो 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 चल हाँ चिल्लाओ मत